Oh,
Sorry?
okay, wait. I think it's from my end. Sorry. Hold on. You can speak again. Let me hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you doing? Good
Not too
afternoon.
bad. Not too bad. How's it going?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
But
I don't.
so on average, you're doing good.
Okay, I think there's a lag
Yes,
there.
I can actually hear you anyway.
You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I thought there was a lag. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. I'm doing good.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Oh,
At
good.
least we can hear ourselves. All
Yeah.
right. So I want to believe that maybe you're still working, right?
I'm still
Like you're not
working
done
hard.
for the day. That's all. Like I mean,
Sorry?
you're not done for the day.
Um, I I'm not necessarily working. I was reading something, but I was yeah, I'm not done for the day.
Okay. All right. So maybe we just get straight into the interview so that we'll try to maximize time and save time for ourselves post after the interview.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it's going to still start in a casual way. So the first question is actually, who is Lota?
Who is Lota? It
Mhm.
depends on the day. Oh. It
Depends
depends. I said it depends on the day, on the day.
on the day.
But on
Uh,
the day, on the day,
okay,
day.
okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I said it depends on the day. But if I am to speak professionally, Lota is a designer that has been building in the fintech space for about 6 years now, and mostly working on like emerging technology. So from my time at Bundle, which was Binance Bundle, and then joining Yele on his mission to build out products for Nestcoin, and we worked on a bunch of different things. But the most popular, like the flagship product for Nestcoin, was Onboard, which was a product that I led design for and sort of hacked on for like 4 years before I stepped away. So yeah, that's Luta on the professional side. On other side that people don't really know. What else? What can I say? I'm from Enugu. I grew up in Enugu. Lived there for most of my life till I had to go to school, uni. I went to Futo, studied electrical electronics engineers, met some of my best friends up to today from the school. Um, yes, and then until I then moved to Abuja for which I've been here maybe for like what 3 years now when my NSC started. So yeah, that's kind of the gist.
Okay. So just to, you said you're from Imo, right?
No, I said Enugu.
Enugu, okay, you grew up in Enugu, okay. All right, so you still give a professional side of Lota. So who is Lota outside work?
Okay, that's what I try to explain about where I grew up, what
Okay.
school I went to, like making friends in Futo. But I don't think you heard that. This one you asked me if I was from Igbo. I'm like, why?
So yeah,
Why?
at that point, the call
The
is supposed
cutoff.
to, yeah.
Okay. I was wondering because okay, so I'll just go over that again. So I said I grew up for the most part in Enugu. I spent most of my life in Enugu from primary, secondary up until uni, where I had to go to Futo. I did the 5 year program, electrical and electronics engineering. I met some of my best friends up until today from the school, from actually the same program as well. And because I did engineering, they were like not a lot of girls in the course. So, I was very lucky find to find four women, four girls at the time that we
Okay.
ended up being best friends from the same program. So it was kind of like it's almost a miracle to for that to happen. Like even just there being girls in the program and then those girls being like your friends. So yeah, that's very interesting. And then I am the second of six. So I have five other siblings and they're doing different things for themselves and we're very close to each other. So what else can I say? What else can I say?
What do you do?
I I
Hobbies?
started playing. Sorry.
Like what you do for fun? What your hobbies
Yeah, yeah,
are?
yeah. I started playing. I started learning how to like swim, different things, skates, play tennis. These are like things that I'm kind of like doing for fun. I like doing like activities.
Okay.
Yeah, there. So yeah, that's kind of the gist.
Okay. So I just picked something. You said you read EE in school, but it seems like you currently practice around software engineering, not EE.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So I read EE, but I was really interested in like design, like how the more like software. I was more interested in like the internet and who the people that put things on the internet. So I was very curious about that. I remember just like always like wondering like how is it possible? Like it was just this question that I nobody around me knew the answers to. So I took like a small course. So there was this like after I think after my year one, the long break after my year one, there was this like learn software, learn web development sort of thing. So I paid for it. I think it was like 5K or something. So I stayed back in school to just crunch that curiosity and see what this thing is even about. So that's kind of like how I got into the whole introduction to the whole tech space, software space. And then I now, drilled it down to product design.
okay, all right. Let me just take the next question. So now it's getting a bit serious. So I think you may want to fasten your seatbelt at this point. Uh, so you left Onboard at a time when crypto adoption in Africa is still accelerating. Nigeria recently, for instance, passed $96 billion in crypto. We have the highest in the world, or we're the highest in the world in terms of crypto adoption, about 25 million. So, what did you see internally that made you feel your working on board is complete?
It's not really about what I saw internally. What I can say, obviously, I can't say a lot, but what I can say is on a personal level, I I had a number of like personal projects that I've always wanted to do, and it's been something that has been on my mind to, eventually leave on board. I've been there. That's the longest place I've ever worked in my career. I pretty much from school I pretty much started working at Onboard like I with Yale specifically from my I think my fourth year in uni. So I've been with like the same people for since school. So it has helped me develop this like 0 to 1 mindset, having a founder's mindset, having 100% ownership and taking responsibility within teams, and always trying to find ways to work on a problem, not just work on the problem, but also distribute the solution, right? So how are we thinking about this thing? So yes, taking things from 0 to 1. I feel like I had done that and my time, I had done that for a very long time. It's all that I knew. It's also a very hard thing. Obviously, you can attest to that as someone that has worked within startups. If you've done it for a long, long time, your body starts to itch for something else or to do something of your own. So yeah, I think it's just been this question mark in my head for a while. And then just in February I was just pushed to do that. I was just in that point where I had to make that choice and go out there. So yeah, that's really the thing. I've just done it for a long time, and I wanted to do something else.
Okay, so it's more of a push. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, so what's one thing you try to fix at Onboard that turned out to be harder than expected?
One thing I try to fix, I think the whole concept of Onboard, especially when we moved from just being just a crypto wallet, self custody wallet, into trying to now sort of merge traditional finance and decentralized finance, like the best of both worlds. I think that was just a constant, always evolving problem, right? Because as a product designer, you're trying to simplify as much as you can with in the financial space, right? Especially within, so when you're now working for a company like Onboard, that isn't like the regular, like it's not a bank, but it's also not a crypto wallet. It's also like, so what is it? Right. So is how can you even ship this product? Because is utilizing tools like, he's using things like, okay, there's things to do with the blockchain. He's trying to is going to work with products that are heavily, what's the word, heavily regulated. Like, so maybe you're working with a actual corporate bank. How can we sort of display the functionalities of this product? How can we simplify the functionalities of this product, the power of the blockchain, the power of all these other things that we're using in such a simple way that we can attract as much users as possible, as much mainstream users as possible, right? Because if you wanted to do a crypto product, that's what we've always been doing. But the market there is really tough. It's also very niche in Africa. So if you're trying to acquire more and more users, you're trying to get into like you said, adoption. You're trying to get people to adopt your product. You're going to try to simplify and abstract away a lot of these like crypto specific things, right? So it was that constant tussle, that balance to say, okay, yes, we have power users that are crypto first, bullish on all these different things. They understand gas fees, they understand the different rails, you understand networks, you understand all these things. And then there's the other side of things, that people that don't understand any of these things, that have used maybe products like, okay, they have their own banking apps, they are OPay customers, they use Money Point, they use Gray. Like, those are the things that you understand. Then you're not trying to merge those are two separate users, but then you're not trying to get them to use Onboard, which is kind of a sweet balance. So it's that constant battle to always find that that simple balance between those two. And it doesn't end, it's like an unending problem that throughout my 4 years, since when we pivoted from crypto wallet to, trying to be a financial platform, it was just a constant evolving problem that, at some point we solved it, we're starting to solve it, and something else comes up and we have to solve for that, and then something else comes up and we have to solve for that. So yeah, that's it. And when we're doing it, we're one of the first people to kind of like do it now. A lot of people that are coming up now are like copying Onboard. They're like, okay, Onboard has done it. So like, oh, okay, you're a designer Onboard. Oh, nice. I've been looking for a designer Onboard. Come and work on my company and stuff like that. It's When we did it, there was no playbook. There was nobody else doing it. So it was mainly just trying to figure stuff out on the run. and it's always harder when there's nobody to copy from, or there's no established models in just in terms of UX. Like nobody else has really done this thing. How do you figure out how to display this seemingly complex technology, so that users can still harness the powers of this complex technology without really touching the rails or touching any kind of hot parts. Yeah, so that's it. It's a constant problem.
Okay. All right. I typically understood. Okay. That's interesting. Now let's move towards your design trust infrastructure. Uh, Everyone says like design builds trust. What does that actually look in product decisions? Not theory, like practically.
Design builds trust.
Yeah.
Um, is it necessarily design, or yes, I guess you could say design build trust, but there are also other elements that adds to the trust, right?
So yeah,
Things, yes, but
that's
I'll just focus on the design part, right?
yeah.
Let me give a real. I'm trying to think of a real example at Onboard. It feels like such a long time. I'm trying to remember something good. Design builds trust. I think that with crypto and like anything that has to do with crypto, people are it has bad rep, right? There's bad PR for crypto because of the bad actors, I guess, in the space, people that have tried to exploit people,
Mhm.
people that have tried to just yeah, exploit people really is the word. And also because of the nature of can also be greedy on both sides, both
Mhm.
on from the victim side of things and from the perpetrator, right? So because crypto has such a bad rep, and the crypto space really is highly like on what's the word? You can't predict it. It's unpredictable. Like just the space, not like I'm not even talking about tokens. I mean the ecosystem is unpredictable. It's fast moving. Things change quickly, right? So you can have a product today, and the federal government to pass a law, and your product does not exist. Like you can't run your product, and that's what happened at I think at Bondo, when they now said, okay, crypto entities cannot, what's the word? They can use traditional financial products like or infrastructure. So that means they can have a paystack account. They can use maybe they had a fidelity, anything that has to do with traditional finance. They can't directly interact and partner with them. So all these other guys, they were like, "CEO, we don't want problem. We're not going to support you again." Paystack stop supporting, all these guys stop supporting, right? Because of the law that they passed. So that means that all the exchange products, that exchange functionalities, all those things that we had at the time couldn't, we didn't have a product anymore. Like we couldn't make money, essentially, right? And that sends people into a frenzy of removing their money. What can I do? Blah blah blah. Just this whole bank run, if
Mhm.
you will, right? So because of the space itself, there's a need to assure the user, or maybe over assure the user in every single step, right, that they take, right from when they decide, even before they download your app and now say, okay, I want to sign up, right? So is what they hear from their friends. It's how is who the CEO is, what does the CEO represent. um so I've seen that it plays a very huge role, the founding team of the product, like when the people know, like, oh yeah, is this people that are actually building this product, okay, these guys, they have integrity. They've kind of um they've done stuff in the ecosystem. This is not their first rodeo. They start to, the element of trust starts to build because of the founders of the product. And then because of how maybe the product operates, just brand in terms of the branding, what the product represents offline, then people can start to gain the product starts to gain trust of people. And obviously word of mouth is the greatest form of trust that you can ever, yeah, and you can't even buy that, right? So it's the greatest form of trust. So even before they get on your product, they would have already formed their opinion of what the product is, right?
Mhm.
And in a way, design in a way plays a role in that. Even in like, and I mean design, I don't really mean like what we choose, like the button color, or what we choose, how we choose to design the product. I mean in the decisions that the company makes in terms of designing how people can perceive them, and decisions that they make in terms of how they want to show up online, what they say, how we are, branding the product generally, right? So
More,
I think brand plays a very huge role there.
more like
And
branding decisions by the company.
sorry.
So more like branding decisions by
Yes,
the
yes. So branding decisions by the company, and also living up, because you can say you want to brand your company this way, but you're not living up to that thing.
right.
So it's delivering on that promise of the brand. Your brand can promise this thing, but you're not able to deliver on the promise. So delivering on the promise would now be evident in the product, right? So how people are experiencing your product. Are you doing what you say? So when I download your product and you say KYC will be done in X amount of time, how does that happen? If I don't get supported when things fail, you get a bad rep. So every single touch point of the product, even before they touch a button, swipe, anything that they do, it informs and shapes the mind of the user, right?
Okay.
Every single touch point, not just, oh, they've downloaded your app. Before,
All right.
long before they download your app. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much interesting and actually accurate. So let's move to the next one. So if you had to audit a crypto app in 10 minutes, what are the first three things you check to know if it understands African users?
So let me know if what?
If it understands African users. So like this is
Okay.
basically, yeah,
Okay,
based
if
on,
you understand African users.
yeah,
Um,
first three
First
things.
of all, can I sign up? Like if I download the product and I select country, Nigeria, and it tells me sorry, not supported. Obviously, you know that you can't use it, right? So if I hit
You know,
that, yeah. So if I hit that, so what will I call it? Dead screen. Sorry, not supported. I know that okay, I'm not their target audience. Right. So that's the first one. If I'm able to go through that, and then what else? What else can I do I notice? Yes. So if it's a crypto product, obviously it has to do with exchange of money. If they don't support payment methods that are African or Nigerian, then I know obviously I can't use that. So payment methods for us needs to be covered.
mhm.
What else? And then also if they don't have a support, this I don't think this is necessarily for Nigerian users, but I think support is really key, and responsive support, not just support that is just for the sake of it, but they are able to handhold any kind of user and not necessarily discriminate because of where they are from, or say, oh, you're not really our target audience, so we're not going to really respond to you. But that one you can't really, well, you can check, but you can't really, you can't be too sure.
Okay.
Um, that, and what else? What else is there? Yeah, so obviously if you can, if your product is supportive, you can do KYC if it's a product that requires that. If it's a self-custody product, self-custody wallet, then any of these things I've said doesn't apply, because you don't need to do KYC. Pretty much, you pretty much can run that stuff on your own. So I'm guessing you're talking about a regulated product that is, crypto.
Yeah, well, a crypto app, but you've said more than three anyway. I think you've used,
Okay. Yeah, so those are the things.
yeah, thank you. So now we're moving to crypto in Africa, what's actually working, what's not. So stripping away hype, removing hype, where is crypto genuinely useful in Africa today?
Mm, I'll say global payments. I think that's the greatest, most actionable. So yes, most actionable opportunity right now, like use case that even for me personally, as someone that is, I mean, let's talk about why there's a need for why crypto really works for global payments. The reality before crypto, when you wanted to access like some kind of like quality financial experience, maybe you wanted to, pay for, I don't know, you're on a vacation or you're supposed to travel and you're supposed to pay for a flight ticket, or you've already traveled and you're on the airport and you're trying to get an Uber and you don't know how to pay, so you're trying to get cash, or you're trying to see if you can download lifts and see how you can pay, or you have a sibling that is trying to apply for university outside of Nigeria and you're trying to say, okay, how can you pay for application fees and all those kinds of things? Or you run a business and you're trying to see how you can collect foreign currency and spend the foreign currency for your business. Or so many use cases, or you travel to an African country and you're trying to see how you can, be, you can sort of move around like a local without necessarily having to go to Naira, then from Naira to whatever currency that they have.
Yeah.
You have to think of, so before all of the before crypto, we had to rely on third parties, but when we had to rely on, what will I say? We had to rely on people like, what will I say, PayPal, right? People that aren't necessarily people from Silicon Valley, like people that had already built this product for a bigger market, and they said, okay, let's come to Africa, right? People like Wise, they've done it in Europe. They were like, okay, let's now give access to Africans. Maybe Africans need this thing because they are spending currencies naira. It's not economically, you can't, your currency is devalued and you can't use it anyway, right? So we are looking to people in Western markets, in Europe, in America, right? So we need entrepreneurs from there to give us access to their own products, right? So that's who we look to, right? Because our own, I mean, we don't even have access to dollars, so that means that the federal government, whatever products that it gave us access to, we can't necessarily access um higher higher like spending it. We can't do much any of that, right? So we're looking to guys like Wise, PayPal. So they gave us access to global payments and to enjoy that. For a while we had that, right? You could use Wise, you could use PayPal, but all of a sudden they blocked us from accessing those things. So imagine that you had money on Wise, next thing they blocked your account, they're telling you to validate, you can't, they're telling you that Nigeria people are now blocked, right? We've seen that with Stripe recently as well. So the fact of the matter is that when when they decide that they don't want to give us access, there's nothing you can do. It's their product, they can decide where it goes. And if they feel like there are just too many bad actors for them to overly like design for your own use case, and if it doesn't work exactly as it works in Silicon Valley, for them to tweak and distill their products for it to work here, it's not going to work. Obviously there's a part that the federal government plays to also make those people feel to allow companies like that to allow companies like that to work and to allow them, partner with them, what's it called? Partner with the local, I guess, financial institutions here, but that's a story for another day. But because those companies like that can decide that they don't want us to access those products because, okay, you're from Nigeria, you can access this product, you're born in Nigeria, you don't have any other kind of citizenship, you can't access those products because it's just too much work for them. We need to look inwards. Okay, what can we build such that we can access global payments? We can pay very little for cross-border payments. We know that our currency is devalued, so it doesn't compete in the global market. How can we be able to pay for goods and services and enjoy all these things without having to rely on people that can, within a second, remove that access from you? And that's where, and also the cost of even doing that, even with those guys, it was really, really expensive because, they had so many middlemen between those things, right? That's why things like crypto, that's why, entrepreneurs from Nigeria and from Africa started to harness the power of crypto, discovering that, okay, crypto is not just, okay, let's see how we can trade. Let's trade on this thing. They started to look at other use cases on how to exchange money, exchange value, even store value, and things like, it gave a rise to the things of trading, of buying and selling with stable coins. And that's where you really try to see on how you can exchange things almost one to one, very low fees, and is accessible to anyone, anywhere. There's no, okay, you're from Nigeria, or you're from the global side, or you're from India, you can't really access these things. It's open for all. It really unlocks people that were locked out of these global financial spaces because of where they are from or where they live. So that's one of the really powerful things. So as a business owner, as a sibling or someone that wants to travel out, you can then say, okay, I'm going to use a product like Onboard, or a product like any of these other guys that are here now. You might not necessarily know they're powered by crypto, but it's the power of the blockchain, the power of crypto that is making that transaction possible at that rate that it's running for. So really, that's the power of crypto.
Agreed. Okay, so what's one popular crypto narrative about Africa that is completely wrong?
Popular narrative that is wrong.
Yeah, crypto in about Africa, like crypto narrative about Africa. There is the way
um
Africa is in terms of crypto. So, is there one thing that people see about Africa that is completely wrong?
I'm thinking. Um, is it? Sorry, ask your question again because I started thinking about another question.
Okay, so what's one popular crypto narrative about Africa that is completely wrong? Maybe in terms
Okay, it has to
of
be about Africa, not just the
yeah,
crypto narrative. Okay.
Africa.
Um.
You're on CoinAfrica, so yeah.
Yeah. I would say. I'd say that I think there is the perception that I mean, maybe at least there used to be a perception that people in Africa that were people Africans that were maybe founders or just individuals that were using crypto, that were crypto heads, were being, what's the word, had bad intent, right? Or yeah, they were bad actors, right? So maybe they wanted to rob people or they wanted to take their money or something like that. Like, or if you were doing crypto at all and you are from Africa, then that means you're like a scammer or something, right? Which is that's completely wrong. But I think that there's this perception. I think it's changing. Actually, I think it's changing, but there used to be a perception that that was the fact, and then people that were doing crypto are scammers generally. You know,
Mhm.
I think it's worse when you're now from Africa. Like they now think you're really a scammer. Yeah, but
Okay.
that's obviously like a stereotype that needs to die if he hasn't already died.
hmm hmm Okay, I think actually also I agree with you, but people are beginning to come up to speed from time to time. And yeah, in 2026, that's not completely the narrative. And we also have people who are actually winning in the space. So yeah,
True.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's delve to we've gone to like middle of the conversation. So let's delve to trust, risk, and user psychology. So I'll just give only just one hit question. So if a founder in Africa tells you we'll fix trust later, what's your reaction?
If a founder told me that will fix trust later.
Yeah. So that's like you are in the team, and
Mm-hmm.
for you to be a founder, most likely it's a startup. So
Mm-hmm.
you know like what you said before about branding, how the company keeps to their promise and all of that. So the
Mm-hmm.
company is doing something and then probably is not putting so much effort to delivering on their promise. So if the founder tells you we'll fix trust later, maybe design now, we'll fix trust later.
Mm. um, I would say like yeah, you wouldn't. Someone wouldn't. Oh, how would I say this? In reality, the founder wouldn't necessarily say word for word will fix trust later. They would probably say like it's going to be an unspoken thing where like they'll just be like they'll just like change strategy like on the fly, and you just say, oh, what's going on? Like there won't necessarily be like a memo saying, oh my god, we're changing, let's just forget about trust right now. You just see that there's been a shift in um in the goal, in the mission slightly, right?
Okay.
And I guess it's a thing of flagging it, like mentioning it, especially if you feel like you can speak up or you just choose to speak up. I think yeah, that means that maybe some kind of misunderstanding with what the founder wants, or there's also maybe a misunderstanding in maybe your fit. If you're a person that believes in trust and feels like it's something that we should prioritize, then maybe you're not a good fit. You guys don't fit to work together. So it has to be one of those two. Either that there's some kind of misunderstanding, or you guys are just not on the same page, and you probably have to go off and do your thing, or stay really and
Yeah,
truly.
okay. All right. So from what you've said about your background in terms of education, it appears that you are self-taught, right? Since you were from EE and then you moved to design software. So would you agree that you are self-taught?
Yeah, to an extent I was.
Okay. So being self-taught, what did you learn faster than traditionally trained designers?
I don't know. I don't think I've met any traditional training designer, or maybe I met them. I don't know that they are. The thing about design or anything in software, you don't necessarily say, "Oh, where did you learn?" You just like, "Where did you work?" I guess it's like you really care about what they've done, not necessarily where they learned, unless it's a very
Okay.
specific like. oh, where did you take this course? They're usually taking courses or like, what did you read? Right? You not necessarily say, oh, where did you go to school? And that's one of the very cool things about software and tech is that it doesn't attach importance to where you've where like in terms of education, it cares a lot about execution, like what you've done with the education, any education that you've gained or gathered. What have you done with it? Execution. So I would say I don't know how to answer the question because I just never thought of that actually.
Okay.
But if I was to answer like with like assumption, like if I was to make assumptions, right? Maybe you went to school. I think you probably would. You have a maybe a method to. There'll probably be a method to your madness. Like so, how you arrive at certain solutions. There'll probably be like it's sort of like a frame. Always have a framework for how to get to solutions. You're very process over what's the word? Process over. I don't know the thing process over execution, and versus self thoughts will probably be like execution over process. Like you just want to get it done. Process can suffer. Yeah, that's
Okay.
one assumption I'll make.
All right. Okay. So, what's something most designers think is important, but actually isn't when building financial products?
Hmm, most designers think it's important, but it's actually not important. Hmm.
Something they focus on, or they feel like, oh, these are the probably a template that most designers just work with, and they feel like this priority is okay. But you feel like that priority may not be what's most important.
Hmm. I'd say like always trying to. I would say designers are what's the word for fintech. Fintech is a very high trust, high risk like ecosystem. Like people don't want to put their money somewhere that they don't trust. They would never do that. Never do that, right? Unless it's something that someone can vouch for, maybe a friend, something, right? So um it's very high, like it needs to be trusted. So because designers are used to the idea of reinventing the wheel, like you want to think of another way to get to X. Maybe we've been doing this for a while, there's been established models of getting to X, but then you want to do another thing, right? I would argue that it's probably more important to get people in using the things that they already know and then trying to educate them and then trying to reinvent the wheel from there versus trying to do something very new from the get-go, especially if it's not a new product vertical. If it's something that already exists, it's not a new product vertical. Yeah, it's probably more harmful to reinvent the wheel then. Sorry, 1 second, I'm getting a call.
Okay.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Um, were you done with the previous what
Yeah,
you were
yeah, I was
saying?
done.
Okay. So just very quickly, what's your thoughts on African designers? Are they underutilized globally or underprepared
Underutilized or underprepared?
globally? African designers.
Um, Underutilized or underprepared? I think it depends. It depends on the like. Are you talking about the top percentile, or if you're talking about the top percentile? Obviously, yeah, they're super talented people on the top. They've been doing this for years, and they have developed the craft in a way that because of because of the environment they work more than they work double as hard as anybody else. They are basically going against the grain to make it in a place like Nigeria, right? So they're definitely on that top level and they can compete globally. But there's also the presence of, and like in any industry, people that are maybe newcomers to the field, they are going to be underprepared. They might disregard, or they might underestimate the work required to get to the top percentile, like in any industry. But I don't think it's very specific to designers. Yeah.
Okay. All right, fine. So while we have a few minutes to go, what's next for Luther?
Me too. I'm figuring it out. But I feel like it's just a lot of. Someone said I'm in my exploration phase, and I think that describes what I'm doing now. I'm mainly just exploring what's possible, honing my craft, sort of expanding more to like entering my entrepreneur and what would I call, yes, my entrepreneurial era is what I would say. Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's what I would say actually.
Okay. So what kind of problems are interesting enough for you to commit the next 5 years to?
Sorry, I think I have your delivery. Person keeps calling me. Sorry, just 1 second. Hello? Hello?
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm back.
All right. Do you want to continue on the last thing we're saying, or let me just give?
I don't remember what I was saying, but I think I was done. No? Not sure.
All right. So let me hit you on the last one. Who do you think will win long term in Africa? Banks, fintechs, or crypto native players?
Wait, was this last question you asked? This was not it.
No, no, no. I'm asking a new one. The last I
Okay.
asked was the kind of problems you're
Who
interested
do you think will do what?
will win long term in Africa.
Mm.
Banks, fintechs, or crypto native players.
Banks, what?
Banks, fintechs, or crypto native players.
Okay. I think banks, fintechs. I think for nobody wins until everybody wins is what I would say. It's one person winning is a sign that other people can succeed. I don't think there's any like there won't be any losers or failures is what I would say. But in terms of who takes the bigger chunk, it all depends. Who they take the bigger chunk of the market share and can serve a lot of users. I would say the big like banks are moving pretty slowly. It's gonna take a while for them to catch up. There are other bigger players that are not banks that has the trust factor, and if they do anything, that people would definitely like be on board without actually knowing that they're using crypto. Guys like Flutterwave and Paystack and all those other guys are gearing up, but the thing about that is also cost. They might be more expensive because they are also like an additional middleman in the process. So eventually they end up being like another bank. But I think that the core like the last thing you said, what did you call them?
Crypto native players.
Yeah, they can get it done, and it is the value, like the magic of crypto can still remain, like why crypto is appealing now. So the cost, the speed, those things can still be true. The problem is acquisition and getting the right partners and infrastructure to get them there. So everybody needs everybody at the end of the day. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I think I really like how you answer these questions. Quite, I think it's a very balanced equation. I thought you
Yeah.
were going to pick, but yeah, you like that statement you said about everybody wins when everybody wins. I think is that how you put it? That
Yeah.
was yeah, that was a very very solid point. Okay, so I think right now we've come to the end of the interview with Coin Africa. Thank you so much for your time, and it was really insightful. I believe our audience will also find it insightful. So when it's ready, I would send you such links and would appreciate your like repost on LinkedIn or anywhere you see it.
Yeah, for
And
sure, for sure.
I thought,
All
yeah,
right, now thank you so much. I had a good
yeah,
time. I love your questions as well. Well done.
yeah, thank you. So yeah, so
All right.
do you have another picture we can use? It seems like it's just one picture you've
Yeah,
used.
yeah, I can use it. I can send another picture.
All right. Even the one on your Gmail DP too is like on this call. It's also not a bad idea. But anyways, you can send your
All
picture.
right, no problem. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.